Hey everybody, this is Gregory from Dapp University. So welcome back to this multi-part tutorial series where I'm showing you how to build a decentralized social network on the blockchain. This is a full stack blockchain application, and I'm taking you over the shoulder with me to show you how to build it step by step. All right, so go check out the previous videos if you haven't already. But today we're going to continue building out the client-side application, and we're going to actually list out the social media posts that are on our decentralized social network that runs on the blockchain. So let's go ahead and start programming. So welcome back. We're going to continue building out the client-side application in this tutorial. In the last one, we wired up this application to the blockchain with Web3.js. We imported our accounts into MetaMask, and we listed out our account on the page right here with this cool new Identicon avatar that's generated based on the Ethereum address. All right. So what we want to do now is continue building out the social network. We want to show all the posts on the page. We want to create new posts, and we want to be able to add tips to posts. All right. So there's a little bit of groundwork to do. First, let's go ahead and create a post so we can list it out on the page on the social network. I'm going to go to my terminal, open the Truffle console. As always, make sure you have Ganache running, the blockchain, and make sure you've migrated your smart contracts to the network before doing this. All right, so I'm going to get the social network contract. We'll say network. I'll say social network equals await social network dot deployed. All right, social network. All right, there it is. I'll say social network. Create post. Say await. I'll say this is my first post. All right. Boom. There we go. So we have a post. Now let's go try to list this post out on the page for the project. Okay. So we need to actually import our smart contract into this app when we do that. Okay. So let's see here. We want to fetch it from this file. All right. So inside the source directory, we see source ABIs, and we have the social network.json file here. All right. So let's do that. We'll import it just like this. Go just below app.css, import, boom. So we'll import social network, right? Capital S, capital N, from this file right here. So dot means go up a directory into the ABIs folder, and then use the social.network JSON file. Okay. All right. So now that we have that, we can talk to the smart contract, and we're going to use Web3.js to get an instance of the smart contract in JavaScript inside this app. So when we do that, we're going to use this web3.eth contract. Okay. So this is an example. Basically, we'll just do this. All right. And then it needs two pieces of information. All right. It needs the JSON interface, which is the API, and the address. So we have both of those pieces of information inside that file. All right. Go to social.network.json. Here's the API, right? And then the address is, you'll see here. Yeah, address is here. Boom. So you'll notice that the address is nested way down in this file under this networks key. All right, so there's multiple networks this could potentially be deployed to. So it could be deployed to Ganache, it could be to a test network, it could be to the actual main Ethereum network. But in this case, we just want to find this address. So we need to open this file, figure out what network we're on, and then find the address. And once we have those two pieces of information, we'll be able to do this and create an instance of the smart contract that we can use in JavaScript. All right, so let's do that. Go to app.js, and inside load blockchain data, we've already loaded the account. Now what we want to do is we need three pieces of information. We need the address, we need the ABI, all right? But in order to get the address, we also need the network ID, right? Because inside this file, this is the network ID, so we can find the actual address, all right? So we can get the network ID with Web3 like this, a const network ID equals await web3.eth.net get ID. All right, and I'll console log that. Go back to terminal, or sorry, the browser. And there we go, 5777, right? That's right. We need to find that information to go here, all right? And then now what we want to do is fetch the data, the network data, right? This is the network data right here, networks 5777. So we can do that like this. We say social network dot networks, right? That's just the key, and then pass a network ID. All right. So that's going to be, this information right here. So that's going to tell us what the actual address is. So essentially, like, if that information exists, we want to instantiate the smart contract with the JS. And if it doesn't, we'll just say that the social network contract has not been deployed to the blockchain. All right. So we'll just run this again. We'll say console.log network ID. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so here it is. But if we change networks and go to the main network, maybe, right? Say mainnet. Refresh the page, then boom, it'll break, right? Social network contract not deployed to detected network. That makes sense because we haven't put it on the mainnet. We've only put it on Ganache, okay? So we'll go back to Ganache. Oops, sorry. Refresh the page, and it still works. All right. So basically, if the smart contract is detected, we're going to do some more stuff. We're going to take all the info that we have and create an instance of it like this. All right. So inside of here, we'll say this. We'll say const social network. Oops, lowercase social network equals web3 ETH contract. We'll say capital social network dot ABI. All right, that's the ABI, and then network data address. Okay, so that should give us everything that we need in order to create the smart contract. So console log social network. Oops, got a problem here. Network data is not defined. Let's see here. Let's call this network data. All right. Boom, there we go. Here's the smart contract. Awesome. So this is everything that we need in order to call methods on it. We'll be able to do things like call the Solidity functions that we coded previously, right? We'll be able to say, you know, like, let's see here. We'll be able to call create post. We'll be able to call tip post with Web3.js, right? I'll show you that here. We'll be able to use this syntax with Web3.js, right? You see my contract, methods, my method. So this could be any method that we created, like, let's see, you know, create post, my contract, my methods create posts, right? And then pass in all the parameters. Just like we did in our test, but it'd be slightly different because we're using Web3.js directly, okay? So let's see here. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's say, let's get the post count because we want to do that in order to list out all the posts on the page. It should be 1 in this case. But before we do that, let's go ahead and say this.set state. Let's see here, social network. And we want to save a copy of this on the React state object so that we can use this smart contract later, okay? So we'll update this as well. Social network equals, so the default value here can just be, well, let's just, we'll not even put it here. It'll just be null. Oops, sorry. All right. So also really quickly, this is just a shortcut inside ES6 for this. Right. If you have a key and a value that are the same name inside of an object, you can just do that for shortcut. Okay. So this is this.set state. We're going to store the social network contract for later. Next, let's actually get the post count. So we say const post count equals await social network dot methods. All right. So go back here, dot methods, and we'll say post count, and then that's not actually going to call the method. That's just going to return it. Okay. If we want to actually call it, we say .call. Okay. And then we can just say this .set state post count. And then initially we'll just say post count is going to be 0. All right. We can also console log it. Save it. Go back to the terminal. Refresh. And there we go. Boom. So it's a big number, which is okay. That's what we expect. But we got the value back. All right. Let me explain another thing really quickly. Inside Web3, there are call methods and there are send methods. All right. You can see this right here. We have to do my contract, methods, my method, call. All right. And then also you can do send on other methods. So call methods are essentially functions that just read information from the blockchain. They don't cost any gas, all right? But send methods write data to the blockchain, and they do cost gas, and you have to sign these transactions with your account. We'll see that later, but I want to go ahead and make that distinction right now. There's call functions, and then there's send functions, okay? That's what we had to do .call here. All right, so now we've got the post count. So we need the post count in order to understand how many posts we have before we list them out on the page, all right? Remember earlier when we built this social network smart contract, I mentioned that you can't just get all the posts by saying, social network posts, call the function, and then get them all back, right? You actually have to pass in a key, which is going to correspond to this key right here, the ID. And you have to read them out individually, one by one. So you call posts, pass in 1. That's going to give you back this post with ID of 1. Say post.2. It's going to return post number 2. Okay. And we can, loop through those in JavaScript with a for loop and just fetch each one out individually because we know how many posts there are with this post counter cache. All right. So we'll do it just like this. We'll say load posts. All right. And we'll say for var I equals 1. I is less than or equal to post count. All right, and then I plus plus. Okay, this is just a for loop that's gonna loop over every single number from 1 all the way up to the complete number of posts that we have. In this case, we just have 1, so just gonna run 1 time. But if we had 10 posts, it would run 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 until it's less than or equal to this, right? Or until it's equal to this. All right, so inside of here, let's just fetch the post out. We'll say const post equals await social network methods posts, pass in the ID, which in this case is going to be 1. Say call. All right, it's going to fetch the post out from the blockchain. It's just calling this function right here. All right, posts, right? And then we're going to store it inside the state. So we'll say this.set state. All right, and we're going to write the posts. So initially we want posts just to be an empty array. Posts equals empty array, just like this. All right. All right, this.set state, posts. And instead of just, updating that actual array, right, we want to use the Es6 spread operator, which is like this, this.state.posts, say posts. All right. So essentially this just creates a new array, right? And it uses the old posts and adds the new post to the end of that array. All right. So that might look a little confusing, but just trust me, that's how you kind of do it with ES6 and React. All right. So after this, let's just say console.log, and we'll say posts, right? Whoops. So we'll say posts is equal to this.state.posts. All right. There we go. Boom. So there's all the posts. There we go. Awesome. We can see data coming back from the blockchain in our browser. We did it correctly. Yay. All right. So here's the ID. This is my first post. And we can see the author. We can see the tip amount. Boom. Perfect. So now we're cooking with fire. let's go ahead and try to list out some of this information on the page while we're here. All right, so let's do it like this. Let's take let's just use a loop and put them out on the page down here. So I'm going to use a Bootstrap Card in order to model these posts. All right, this is what this looks like inside Bootstrap. We can basically just create a card with a header and a body, and it can support a button. All right, so I'm going to take something like this and kind of modify it for the post that we're going to show on the page. So I'm going to go back to the application and find all this content inside of here and go ahead and remove it. Okay, so essentially I'm going to go back to this page, find the main component, or sorry, the main element, find this div class name, and then take out all this stuff, right? So you should have this left. All right, we're going to put new content inside of here. So what I'm going to do is loop through each post and render out one of these Bootstrap cards that I showed you right here on the page, right? So at this point, this should be empty, but I'm going to put one of these on here for each post. So we can loop through all the posts like this. Boom. All right. Say this.state.posts, all right, then map over it. And then we're going to have two values, the post and then the key. So the key is essentially going to be the index, and that's what we need in order to tell React that each element that it renders out to the page is unique, all right? So we want to use a return here, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste in the basic content for the card. It's going to be the Bootstrap content, all right? Say boom. All right, done. So essentially this is just going to be a boilerplate card, right? It's going to have a header, and it's going to have a body, right? We'll change this in a minute, and it's going to have a footer, okay? And also while we're here, I'm going to change some CSS Bootstrap Utilities. So instead of using, let's see here, deflex and text center, we're going to use, let's see here, ML auto and MR auto. And then we'll say also style equals max width 500 pixels. All right, so let's go to the page and see what that looks like. Oh, there we go. So that's what our basic post is going to look like. It's going to have a header, it's going to have a body, and a footer. So we can go fill out these items. The header is just going to be the post author, so I'll fill that in like this. Say post author. All right, the body is going to be the post content. Post content. All right, bump this back up. And then the footer is going to be tips. So say to do tips. So I guess we can go ahead and fill in. We can go ahead and fill in the tips. We just won't wire it up yet. Boom. We can add tips like this. All right. So this will just be a list item that will have the number of tips and then a button to create the tip. All right. So these don't work yet. They're not wired up, but we'll just take a look and see what we have. Boom. There we go. There's our first post. So there's the author. There's the post content, there's a number of tips, and a button to tip, which is not going to do anything yet. So let's make some changes. We're making good progress. Let's actually list out the number of tips on the post. So we'll do that like this. We'll say tips. Instead of just telling it it's got one, let's actually read the number. We can say window.web3.utils. This should look pretty familiar because we did this in the test in the previous videos. So from way. And we'll say post.tip amount to string. And we'll say ether. All right. Boom. So 0. That's what we expect. All right. And then this is the button we'll use later to actually tip the posts. But it's not going to work yet until we get there. Okay. All right. So lastly, we want to show the identicon for the author. All right. We're going to use an image just like we did in the navbar. So I'll just copy this image and then go back into the post, and I'll paste it just before the author. All right, so let's see here, author. Paste this in. All right, it's kind of messy. Sorry, guys, but you get the idea. All right, pull this back. All right, we'll go over one more. So instead of margin left 2, we're going to say margin right 2. And then we also want to import identicon at the top. So we'll go back to navbar, Import Identicon. Let's do it here. And we can go ahead and remove the logo. We don't need it anymore. All right, and let's, problem. A hash of at least 15 characters is required. That's a few problems here. This should be state. All right, but sometimes the account's going to be not what we expect, but let's just give it a try. All right, so it still works. Awesome. All right, so there we go. There is our skeleton for our posts. And as we add more posts inside of here, it's going to create more cards below this, and we'll see a huge list of them. And then above this, we're going to create a form to create new posts, and then we'll be able to tip them eventually. So let's go ahead and move on to that next section. That's where I'm going to show you how to create new ones. All right, so I'll catch you in that next video.